So this isn't normally the type of video that I actually do, but I feel that it's important that I say it. I have to say it. Right now, it sucks to be in comics. it honestly does. It sucks, people, and you know that it does. If you stay tuned, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why it sucks to be in comics. This video is sponsored by Shortboxed, the easiest way to buy and sell graded comic books. Download the app today using the link in the description. Regie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This channel is all about helping you to make sense of comic book collecting. While we do things like unboxings and hauls, we also spend a healthy amount of time of helping you to sort out what's really important when it comes to this hobby of comic book collecting. And it doesn't matter whether you are new to the hobby, newly returning, or a seasoned veteran, there is something for you on this channel. So if you haven't yet subscribed, I want to encourage you to go ahead and tap that button, turn on notifications, and that way you don't miss out on any of the content that comes out from my channel. As I mentioned in that brief intro, now is a time that sucks to be in this hobby, and I am going to give you 5 reasons why it sucks. The very first reason why this is not a great time to be in comics is because comic book prices are soaring. I feel like everything that I want is super expensive, and maybe it's just I'm going after the wrong books, but I feel like comics are incredibly expensive right now, and that makes it really tough. It makes it really tough for people that really want to buy certain comics to actually be able to afford those comics without having to make a lot of sacrifices. On the channel, I talk a lot about how you might have to make the hobby work for you, which means that you might have to sell some things or work a little bit harder to be able to afford some of the comics that you truly want. And that's by necessity. It's become a necessity to create that type of content because comics are so expensive. And I wish that we were maybe in a different time period in which we could actually pick up some of these really awesome books for literally peanuts and literally just a couple of bucks, but that is not the case. So it definitely sucks because prices are really high. But if you have the books, then it's not such a bad time. But if you are, again, newly coming into the hobby or newly returning, it can indeed be a challenge. The second reason why comics suck right now is because of the internet and the social media. Why? Why do I say that, right? Social media is wonderful, but social media also creates a sense of FOMO, the fear of missing out. When you're on Instagram or Facebook and you're seeing your friends, your buddies, and other people around you with really expensive comics, it creates a certain type of energy and emotion on collectors. It creates this pressure that you're missing out on something, that you don't have what it is that everyone else has. And the challenge, of course, is that some of those people may have those books and may have had those books for decades. They may have made lots of sacrifices in order to get those books, but you don't necessarily see that on the social media posts. You don't necessarily see the work that goes into getting those books or the sacrifices that someone had to make in order to be able to afford that. You also don't know what else is going on in their life. And so the challenge is that while social media and the internet are wonderful, it creates a sense of pressure. And the question becomes, how do you resist some of those temptations? How do you tamp down those temptations to relieve some of that pressure you might feel? Again, these are some of the things that we actually talk about here on the channel, and maybe I'll put a link or two down in the description that may help you to manage through the pressures that come with social media. The third reason why comics suck right now is because people are only interested in keys. I once walked into a comic shop and I asked the proprietor a question about something, and his very first response to me was, "We don't have any keys." Mind you, my question had nothing to do with keys because I was actually looking for filler books to complete my run of Amazing Spider-Man, but he assumed that I was only in the comic shop for keys. And I think that part of the reason why he's a little jaded was because so many people are only focused on those key issues, those issues of significance that actually have some value attached to them, that have some potential to actually skyrocket in value should certain things happen with a movie or a TV show or something like that. And so this idea of people only collecting keys is also part of the reason why things suck. And if you know anything about me and about this channel, I never tell people that what they're doing is wrong. But this is something that creates a little bit of a challenge. There is so much valuable entertainment and content that comes from non-key issues, but the problem is that we're very focused on those key issues, and that makes things really tough, especially when someone is trying to complete a run. There are a lot of people out there that are literally unable to complete a run of their favorite character or team because the books that they need are key issues and the values of those key issues are sky high, and it prevents them from fulfilling their goal of completing that run. And again, this is part of the reason why it's an awful time to actually be in comics because of this focus on the keys. The fourth reason why comics suck right now: movies and TV shows. As much as I enjoy the movies and the TV shows and the streaming platforms, it creates a lot of challenges. It creates FOMO. It puts pressure on people to go out and buy the keys. It also is pushing up the prices associated with comics. And this is a challenge. This is a challenge. I recently read someone's comment where they basically said, I hearken for a time in which there weren't as many movies and TV shows that were driving up the value. And unfortunately, that cart has already left. Like, that horse is out of the barn. I don't think you can put that back in the bag, right? And so we now just have to deal with the fact that there are going to be more movies. There are going to be more TV shows. There are going to be more streaming platforms that emerge with comic book content that is going to put pressure on us emotionally and also put pressure on us when it comes to comics. And so we are going to have to find a way to maneuver in this environment because I don't think that it's going to go away anytime soon. There are a lot of people out there that believe that there is going to be a little bit of a bubble that is going to burst. There are people believing that the movies and TV shows will somehow evaporate and just go away because people are going to get superhero fatigue. Again, I don't see that happening. And so a lot of folks are sitting on the sideline waiting for the bubble to burst so that they can get back into the game. But again, I don't know if that's going to happen. So this, again, is part of the reason why it sucks to be in comics right now. So the last and final thing that I'll talk about is the diffuse nature of how comics are essentially disseminated right now. And what I mean by that is that we still have the traditional means of distribution for comics, that being like Marvel, DC, and Image. These publishers are still out there. They're still providing access to comic content through local comic shops. But we also have digital comics that are accessible on several different websites and several different apps. We have Substack as a platform to be able to access comics now digitally, and they're also disseminating hard copies directly from the creators themselves. We have a slew of independents that are out there creating content and creating comics that have their own methods of distribution, sometimes through an LCS, sometimes through a bookstore, sometimes directly from them. We have comic tags, which are another method of dissemination of digital graphic novels. My point is that it's not as simple anymore as simply going to a local comic shop and picking up a comic. There are a myriad of ways in which comics are being created and disseminated into the marketplace, which makes it really hard to be able to track everything and to know exactly what's happening because there's so many different outlets. And again, with all of this, There are positives to a lot of what I just ticked off, but there are also a lot of negatives as well. And so I don't want to necessarily ignore the negatives because there is almost always some good with some bad. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, what I will try to do is down in the description to include a couple of links that may help people to address some of the negatives that have been highlighted in this video. Rest assured that this is not going to be something that I'll be doing on an ongoing basis. That is being negative. I'm going to switch back to being the positive person that I am. But I hope that you still enjoyed this video. And if you did, I certainly want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment behind. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.